Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. This is Dan with Chicago Beer Geeks, and we are back here for another podcast episode. I know it's been a while, but we're back and hopefully we'll kick it off going strong again. I am here with Nick on the end as always.
Hey buddy.
And then we are actually here at Short Fuse, if you couldn't tell by all the beers and the glass, with Brian, the head brewer.
Hey everybody.
So we're gonna kick right into some of the questions, and so you've been here for 3 months, you said.
Yeah.
So fairly new to the company.
Yep.
We're trying a couple of your beers right here. We each got a different one. This is a stout. I forget what it's called already, but it actually is very good.
God damn this is you've got Dark Realm.
Yep.
It's got maple, coffee, hazelnut, and I'm missing something.
Cinnamon, I believe.
Cinnamon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one is very good. What are you drinking over there, Nick?
I got the double Juicy Lucy.
Double Juicy Lucy.
So we're coming in at 10%.
Yep.
You know, the booze is tucked away nicely in this.
It's a secret in there.
So I had, what did I have? I love Two Hearted. That's one of my faves. And then I had the double Two Hearted. And it was a fucking mess. It was like all booze, right? It was like a messy barley wine.
We had the double Two Hearted.
This is nice.
Yeah.
This is nice.
You guys got a lot of beers on tap.
We got a few.
Yeah.
20 on tap.
20 on tap.
Yep.
And what would you say is like your kind of, what are you known for really as Short Fuse?
I think our big two are regular Lucy Juicy, clocking in about 6.5%.
Which I've had in the past, and it is tasty.
Yeah, it's a pretty tasty one. Nice tropical mango fruity notes. And then our Beery White, it's 4.8%-ish. And then we do that beer with 300 pounds of gummy bears.
Oh wow.
Melted in the kettle. So it's, think about gummy bear flavor and then put that in your beer.
Do you use the Black Forest gummy bears? Because those are the ones you get apparently.
Oh, right. No.
Or you just whatever. Black Forest is probably expensive.
Yeah, right. Or Haribo.
Yeah, exactly.
Shelling out big money for gummy bears.
Yeah.
Now we've got one of our suppliers got an assortment of 12 flavors.
Oh wow.
So we just throw it all in there and melt it down.
There's all kinds of flavors mixed in.
Yeah, so it's a nice fruity flavor.
So, and we're sitting here back in the actual brewery, so it is kind of noisy because they obviously have production things going on. You know, fermentation's happening, everything's going. There's fans keeping us cool because otherwise it'd probably be a million degrees back here.
Fermentation.
So if we've tried to adjust the mics as much as possible to fade out the background a little bit, but it's not going to be perfect. We don't have a couple $1,000 recording studio here. It's just some microphones on the table. So
I really wanted to hold the mics, but then I got
you were more than welcome to hold the mic.
They vetoed it, but then I noticed the branded stands that the 4-packs are looking rather pretty. So
It's reserved here.
Yeah, as you said, he said.
So when you run out,
we can just crack one open.
So this is actually better than holding the mic.
Yeah. So we got a bunch of them back here. So with 3 months being here only, you've obviously a lot of recipes are already here, I would assume.
Yeah.
Are you switching them up, or have you done any of your own yet? Or is that in the works?
Yeah, a little bit of both. We are sitting behind a Saison that I drew up. Is using the Lithuanian farmhouse yeast from Omega. So pretty excited about that beer. Turned out pretty nice. To our right here is a German style Maibach, which I put together as well. It's kind of a challenge from the owner. What do you think about a Maibach?
Yeah.
I don't know. They're pretty good. You want to make one? Okay.
Yeah, Rev just put out one in their Baphomet Bach, which is really good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Bachs are kind of underrated, I think.
Yeah.
Nobody's, the big craft beer community is not going for those standard German beers.
Yeah, I know.
And they're very good beers.
locally.
Yeah, if they're done good, they're great beers.
You think about Dovetail killing it with German style. Styles.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff out there.
What else? We also have German style Helles. We're not migrating to an all German style brewery, but we just happen to
Well, you got enough taps out there, so you got room.
Yeah.
You can replace a couple of the various milkshake IPAs and everything, and not have 4 of them on tap.
Yeah.
So that's not going to kill you.
Exactly.
So,
but in addition to that, it's just minor tweaks to recipes just to work towards consistency, repeatable stuff day in and day out. And then, looking long term, we're thinking about restarting our barrel program again, getting some new beers into new casks, things like that. So, putting together recipes for that.
And you're obviously doing sours as well. I saw the kettle sour stuff going on.
Yeah, so we've got some kettle sour stuff. Tropical Hurt Locker we've got right now. We've got a few things in the works in the next coming weeks. And then we've got a couple fooders, not sour, but Brett's Saisons and those beers.
Okay.
Something in that family, but not quite the tart sour.
Very good. Very good.
Between now we're near Rosemont. We're in Schiller Park, so we're not too far from the airport.
Yeah.
We're basically an extension of the far northwest side. Now between Alarmus and Short Fuse, you guys got a thing for like things that explode on the northwest side of it. What's going on, man?
Is there like a rivalry going on there, or any kind of lawsuits going on?
I don't know, but I know people have mentioned like the logos are pretty similar. It kind of makes me think about the Russian River did a collaboration with somebody. It was like collaboration, not litigation kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, probably have to do an Alarmist collaboration at some point. You know?
Yeah. You never know.
What do you think, guys?
Collaborations are always good. So yeah. So if you're a listener, because this is gonna be on the podcast stuff that we have all other stuff on. You can't comment, obviously, but if you're watching us on YouTube, which hopefully you are, because video is always cool, even though it's just a couple of us just sitting here drinking beers. Feel free to comment below. Yeah, we just like drinking. And this is my first time at this brewery. I've had your beers before, but in the can. The brewery out there is really cool. It's a big space.
Yeah.
It's open. It's got some really cool artwork. The food menu looks amazing. I haven't had it, obviously. What would you say about the food? I'm assuming you've had some of the food.
Believe it or not, I haven't.
No? I know you said you've been here, you're not very much
I
here.
try to be good because, pack my own lunch. Because otherwise, I'd wind up eating a cheeseburger and like pizza every single day.
Gaining
like,
100 pounds, you live like me.
I mean, there's days that I'll duck outside and talk to somebody. It's like, oh man, I could really use a cheeseburger today, or like nachos. I better not. But yeah, I mean, all I can say is my wife's company's down the street, and they get food from here quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's got to be good, right? They keep coming.
It looks good. I mean, it's the menu, like at least describing that. You haven't walked out among the people. That's kind of creepy if I was just walking around looking at their food.
Yeah, that's cool.
But the menu, I'm reading the menu. I was reading it before we came here today online, and the stuff looked really good. And one thing Nick always, every time we go out to lunch, because me and Nick work at the same place, or anywhere, he's like, they got chicken and waffles. He's always asking about chicken and waffles. And you guys have chicken and waffles on the menu.
Dude, really?
Yeah. They call it something else, but it's like chicken tenders and waffles. It's not. Which
was just asking me about that, like, as if it was a brand new thing that was ever invented. You ever had
Yeah.
chicken and waffles? Yeah, it's really good.
I mean, it works.
Yeah.
It fucking works.
So the food looks good, and they're doing stuff like, what are they doing, trivia or bingo or something out there
We got
tonight.
some kind of bingo thing going on.
So
This is the first time we've done it, so that's why I talked to the taproom manager. He's like, I don't know, not used to when you guys are doing events and trivia and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, it's the first night, so
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
feel as bad.
yeah, so very cool place. So one thing, like I said, I've had the beers in the past, and Short Fuse has been around a while. Some of the criticisms in the past have been the beer quality and consistency, which you said immediately you addressed, like trying to tweak the recipes to keep it consistent and stuff like that. So that's one thing I've known has happened in the past, is inconsistency with the recipes not being up to par, at least with a lot of people maybe on like, your Beer Advocate or Rate Beer, what's the app? Untapped.
Untapped, yeah.
Stuff like that. So looking at those ratings, although Untapped's kind of pointless nowadays, it seems like. But yeah, what are you doing going forward in the future to get that consistency up and keep things going in a positive light, better atmosphere than what's been happened in the past?
So I think one of the things that you kind of think about as far as quality in terms of finished beer that really a lot of people don't necessarily think a whole lot about is just general sanitation. You don't clean your kettle enough, those flavors then translate or transfer from beer to beer to beer. So, maybe you've got some stout flavors in your IPA, or, you don't clean your mash tun quite as much, so you almost carry over some sour flavors from, residual malt that's underneath the false bottom. So these like little things I think can add up and almost like multiply as you go through the brewing process, and you ultimately wind up with a beer that, okay, sure it's a stout, but there's some like odd flavors in here. And then if you go over to the cold side into the cellar, if you're not cleaning your tanks as well. Sanitizing your tanks is good. It's the same thing. Residual yeast or schmutz or hops or whatever that's in the tank, that carries over. And sometimes, that bacteria that can get in there. Breweries are just a hotbed for bacteria, so you're constantly fighting that. So I think one of the things that I found was increasing that sanitation and just being better about it on the hot side and the cold side, cleaning floors and things like that. But then in terms of beer, I think it's just, looking at things as far as, what flavors are we trying to achieve? What are the malts that work best for this? Getting beer off hops fast enough so you're not getting into those sulfury, kind of off-putting, even earthy flavors from the hops. So there's a lot of little things that you can do to time out, cellar work and beers and flipping tanks and stuff like that translate to higher quality.
Since you've been here, have you heard positive feedback with that process, things getting more consistent, better from the overall patronage and customers and everything?
A little bit. I think the last feedback I heard from was one of our Hopsteiner reps was in here, and he was saying that he's been hearing some more positive things out in the market, which is really good. I think one big thing is it seems like our sales are doing really well. I'm hoping that is translating to people not just buying the beer, but buying it more often.
Enjoying it.
So you see some little signs without somebody coming up to you and saying like, "Oh my God, you guys are like the greatest brewery in the world." So I think there's a few things out there that we're seeing that are very cool.
And what beers are there beers that are selling more than other beers, or is there a focus on a certain beer that you guys are pushing more than the other beers, volume wise?
I think Lucy Juicy and Weary White are probably our biggest two. We were actually just talking about this the other day. Milkshake beers are selling pretty good too. I think it's just those popular things right now: sweet, full body, fruity, things like that.
Weary White, is that? I know it's got the gummy bears in it. Is that what's the base beer? Is that like it's not a wheat ale, is it?
There's a little bit of wheat in it,
Right.
maybe 6%, something like that. But for the most part, it's just 2-row, a little bit of wheat. So it's a pretty straightforward, clean, very light colored beer. And you get a little bit of like a reduction in color when we have the gummy bears too, just because it's an addition to volume. But that's pretty much where all the flavor comes from. There's not a lot of hops in that beer.
Cool. Excellent. I'm gonna say just when you're speaking, even when you're speaking to us, try to speak into the microphone.
sorry.
I don't know what it's out like for you guys out there listening.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
but
what's your
hopefully
headphones, man?
It's been fine.
How are we gonna know what's going on, man?
Well, I can't plug my headphones. My setup's a mess. Trust me.
Fine.
I did upgrade to LED lights since the last time because
It looks great. I'm not gonna lie.
I tried to do another random podcast that did not do so well.
Before it was umbrellas, right? This is a much easier.
Yeah, I had the umbrella. This is way easier and they're way brighter too.
Yeah, right here.
So the LEDs are really nice and they weren't that expensive. So anybody out there can do a podcast. If we can do a podcast, trust me, you can do a podcast as well. It doesn't take too much.
This is a gigantic space, Dan.
Yeah.
I think we were talking in the pre-show that these barrels, these fermenters are like, 30 barrels, right?
Yeah, at 30 and 60 barrels, we've got about 6 of each. And then we've got 2 10-barrel fermenters just for experimental stuff. So we've got a nice mix of stuff.
What's kind of, you said you've been here 3 months. What did you do before that? Like, when did you brew at another brewery or were you home brewing or what's your history and travel through this brewing world to get here in Shorefuse?
Yeah, so I guess if we go backwards in time, the last 5 years I was at Goose Island as a brewer.
Okay, cool.
At the Fulton Street, the production facility. And then before that, I spent 14 months with 1090 Brewing Company, currently in Glenview, but this is way back when they were up in Zion, so it was quite a commute from the city to and from Zion.
1090 used to be in Zion. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I guess that kind of goes with something I heard earlier today. I was talking to Bob, who did make it, CBT Bob. So he has some friends that were Goose Island brewers or are Goose Island brewers, and one of them recently moved to another brewery. And the sanitization and cleanliness is one thing that he said, from his experience at Goose Island to going to a smaller brewery.
Yeah.
So that kind of ties hand in hand with what you just said about that being one of the biggest things.
Yep.
Is keeping beer clean, the tanks clean and sanitized to get a quality, consistent product.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. I mean, we have daily sanitation checklists. We've got weekly sanitation stuff. We've got monthly. We've got yearly. And then on Wednesdays, this is a Goose Island, is when we had our shift changeovers. So that was, it was Sunday through Wednesday crowd and the Wednesday through Saturday crowd got together, and it was just all hands on deck, cleaning tanks, cleaning floors, sanitizing, cleaning brew house. It's just kind of an all out.
Now,
So that's
Brian,
cool.
where are you from, and then what drew you from Goose to Short Fuse?
So I'm originally from the northwest suburbs here, the Lake Zurich area.
You didn't want to go to Lake Zurich Marine that just closed?
Yeah, right.
Well, there's third phase now, right?
Yeah, phase 3 coming up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because originally it was Black Belt, and then
Yeah,
it was
which I never even heard of.
Yeah, I don't think they were there for very long.
Yeah.
The draw to Short Fuse, I think it was just, you kind of get to that time where it's just like, you're kind of ready to move on to the next thing. And it seemed like a really good opportunity. I had a really good interview with the owner, and just kind of ready to take, the next challenge.
That's what I imagine. I mean, I don't want to speak for Goose Island. They make some great beers with the stuff, but being a bigger company in general, because both me and Nick work for a big corporation as our day jobs, it's just sometimes it's tougher to move up, especially in a scenario like that. I can understand like those head brewers there and everything, they're probably not going anywhere for a while. So for you to get moving up from a lower level brewer, you don't get that spot. The opportunity is, and I think this is at least my experience with any job. To really advance, you have to leave. It's just kind of that's what you got to do. And then brewing aside, not even that, just it's in a corporate world. That seems like that's where you can take your biggest steps.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the truth, and of course, it's nothing against Goose Island. I mean, that's just the way the company is, and I don't blame the brewmaster and lead brewer for sticking around because they do a really good job. So
that's like, I mean, when we first started Chicago Beer Geeks, me and Nick, one of the first people we met, was John Lafler from, he was the barrel age program at Goose. And
I think that was our first story.
yeah, and then he left there after, they got acquired exactly because he wanted to advance and start his own brewery.
Yeah.
So, and he's been quite successful with that.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Goose Island spawns all kinds of great brewers. So.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, all the names and brewing, and it's just like, oh, you spent some time at Goose Island. Whether it's a few months or a handful of years, it's I guess a really good feeder brewery.
Yep. Yeah, if you want to call it that.
If you want to call it that,
seems like that. I mean, there are a lot of people from Goose that move on and become more known in the beer community because they get a chance to expand their repertoire of what they're doing, and get more opportunity at smaller breweries to bring their own beer up. Even though that is an opportunity at Goose as well, like with different opportunities that they give them to like what prop. When they do barrel aged prop, they have a bunch of them. I think pick a bunch of different things. They kind of make suggestions, and then somebody wins essentially. So
yeah, I know it well.
Yeah.
So you get to a point where you're just like tired of making other people's beer, right? Because they got some static entries in that year-long catalog. Some things are rolling. This is what it is. It's rolling for this time of the year.
Yeah.
And you just want a little bit more flexibility now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, it's just kind of the way any brewery works. I mean, obviously we have our mainstays, our flagship beers. But one of the things that I like to do at Goose Island was jump on the little pilot system as much as I could. So it's a nice outlet there for the brewers to jump on. Hey, I've got this idea. Let's get it scheduled, get it brewed up, and hopefully it's something that gets scaled up.
So with Short Fuse, do you plan to start? I mean, I know you said you potentially bringing back the barrel age program, which that's obviously, I would assume, if that happens, making some great barrel aged beers, going to festivals like FOBAB and stuff like that. But that's going to take time because it's got to sit in the barrel a while.
Yeah.
Do you plan to be bringing any? I don't know if like Short Fuse has expanded to some of the other festivals. Even like I've seen them at some local little ones, like Naperville or some other ones here and there. But like the bigger ones, like Great Taste Midwest, stuff like that. I don't know if.
Yeah. So we are signed up. We got 5 entries, I believe, to World Beer Cup coming up in San Diego at CBC, and then we're looking at the U.S. Beer Open, I believe, which is in Ohio. I forget the exact dates on that. So probably send some stuff to there. But as far as great taste, I don't know. We haven't talked about that yet. Fobab, we've got our foeder beers that'll definitely be ready. We could probably get those sent in. But outside of that, next year for Fobab,
Yeah.
for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
What I know this hasn't happened yet. You don't have barrels or anything. You said.
Yep.
But in your mind, what would you like to do and bring to Fobab or bring to barrel aged beers? Like what ideas? I mean, I guess you don't want people to necessarily steal your ideas.
Yeah.
If they're new, but just what's like the biggest thing obviously with barrel aged beers is stouts.
Yeah.
But there's so many other styles. Is there any other style besides a stout that you'd like to experiment with and bring into a barrel and see how it plays out?
Yeah, I mean that's tough because you've got your pretty standard stuff, saisons in barrels or foeders, whether or not those are sour or Brett aged. Obviously, stouts are money maker as far as barrel aged. But I don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm sure anything is fair game. I think one of the things that I'd like to see is maybe something that's had some short residency in a bourbon barrel, or something else that is more on the session side.
Okay.
So maybe like a 6%, 6.5%, something that you can have a couple of that has just a hint of that barrel flavor, but it's not you're like exhausted and full after drinking that last night. So, but that's kind of tough because those lower alcohol beers don't tend to do as well in barrels just because of the nature of bacteria and stuff like that. But I think it's something you can do, just figuring out the safest way to do it.
Very cool.
Yeah,
What's your thoughts on barley wines?
I like them.
Do they have a barley wine here?
No,
Will they have a barley wine in the future?
we should. We should.
Okay.
Yeah, barrel aged or unbarrel aged?
Either one.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should do both.
Barley wines are. I mean, I know a lot of people like just friends of mine that aren't big beer people.
Yeah.
They'll try things here and there, but a lot of them are like, I don't like those barley wines. I mean, obviously, hardcore beer fanatics, they're gonna love barley wines.
Oh, yeah.
At least I think. Most everybody is. But it's barley wine is one style I really like. That's out there. Revolution's doing crazy stuff with barley wines. With their releases, they're just shooting up with a lot of their stuff.
Yeah.
But it's something that it's out there, but not out there as much. I don't think as
I'd agree with that.
because it's not a big seller. I don't think unless you are talking about the beer fanatics and the beer geeks like us.
Yeah, exactly.
Because your average person is going to come in and drink a Pilsner. They'll try the fruity stuff like the milkshakes and this and that.
Oh, yeah.
So I can see from a financial standpoint because they're not cheap to make because they need more grain obviously and everything. So but it's always good when I see a barley wine on the menu. I love one of the breweries I hit up all the time because I go to Chicago almost every weekend. And I usually stop at Peace for some pizza and beer.
Yeah.
And when they have their barley wine, it's their
Moose Knuckle.
That's it.
Okay.
And they have a barrel aged version of Moose Knuckle they always release too. Those are it's a great beer and an incredible crazy name. So, but yeah. So barley wines are always up there. And I was just at Rev for their 10-year anniversary,
Okay.
and their 10-year beer was barley wine. So barley wine's always good. I'd love to see more breweries expand to barley wines. So
We'll get one for you.
excellent. Excellent.
Speaking of barrels, you said this, you guys are jump starting the barrel program. Can you talk about what transpired before? Like where the barrel program went away and came back, or like what's the story there?
I think the biggest thing is that some of the beers that went into barrels probably weren't the best quality, and it was just maybe okay. Let's try and save this beer. Let's get it in a barrel, do something with it to try and salvage it. And then some of the other beers were perfectly fine, but maybe weren't the best fit for a bourbon barrel. Maybe a little too thin. So I think after going through a lot of our barrels, we kind of determined that it was maybe it was time to kind of cut that loss a little bit, and let's start fresh. Let's start from ground zero.
Like revamp everything.
Just revamp it, get that stuff out of there, clean the space, sanitize the space, and let's just start fresh.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's good to hear, especially like I said, with some of the past years back, not being consistent. and you coming in and kind of taking it from the ground up and saying, hey, let's get a better sanitization program in process. Let's get these things up to spec of what they should be to make some good quality beer. That's great to see that's the direction that you're taking this. I don't know if 3 months, I would assume most of these beers that are on tap out there are ones that you've had a part in, at least brewing in some way. So I know this one, I haven't had any of the others yet. There's a bunch out there that really appeal to me that I want to try before I leave, but this one I know is phenomenal. I really do like this one with the adjuncts in it that are in it. I'm not super crazy about a lot of different adjuncts, but the ones that are in this, I do really like. Although I'm kind of a sucker for cinnamon too. So
there you go.
It's like
Curvature 4 came out and Brett.
Yeah, I have a bottle of that.
It's
at
got
home.
cinnamon, bro.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I love like Abraxas, even though I hardly ever get it.
Oh,
So it's just
that's a good.
yeah. So a lot of good stuff out there. Good to see that's the direction that the brewery's going in. You probably don't have an answer to this since you don't know much about the tap room yet and how that's the stuff out there. But I noticed with like the flights, you have to pick like a side. It's like you can't just choose which ones you want in the flight. It did say on the menu that you can pick any 5-ouncer for $5 or for a couple bucks, whatever it was on the menu, based on the beer. But like if you wanted a flight, you had to pick flight A, B, or C, basically, which is kind of weird to me. But it's kind of also like, I guess if you want the beer, you just buy them separately. It's not
This drives him nuts. We talked about this earlier.
Yeah,
He's like, why do I have to pick the lane? What's going on
Exactly,
here?
yeah.
There's got to be a reason
Stay in
for
your
it.
lane.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly. I didn't look at the pricing structure to see if that's the reason behind it. But some places, like I was just at Pollyanna over the weekend, and they'll do flights, and you can pick any. But it's basically like, hey, we'll give you 5 beers on a flight. If you buy a flight, you're paying what you're paying, but we just take $2 off because you're getting a flight.
Okay.
That's their pricing structure. I didn't see what is out here, so don't go yelling at me if you know the answer on there. But it's just kind of weird to me. It's like, oh, and I don't really care if it's called a flight or not. It doesn't matter to me. But some people it does. They're like, oh, I want a flight, and maybe that's the reason. Is because the people that are going to come in order just give me a flight. There are people that are experimenting, just trying things. In general.
Absolutely.
They don't necessarily know what they want.
Yep.
Potentially. So, whereas I might go into a brewery and say, oh, I want to try these 4 different things.
Yeah.
Just give me 5 ounces of each of those 4, and I'm cool with that. Whatever it is. So.
Yeah. No, I don't have a straightforward answer for you. I mean, it's nice to have, flight A, B, and C. If somebody just, give me that one or that one or that one.
Yeah.
But I definitely think, you should be able to have
People
something.
need to be told what to do, Brian. That's the answer. That's the answer right there.
I wasn't trying to say it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
People will sit in there and they'll fuck around for like 10 minutes trying to figure out what's going on.
No, we should definitely be able to have.
I mean, you do have it separately, but yeah.
But I think I was here a couple of years ago after they opened up. I think I sat down and I got all I could have. Like I had some time to kill and said, I'm going to try all of this.
Yeah.
And it's a lot because we've got big taster glasses. I definitely didn't finish it all. It's like I've been like not going to be able to make it home after this.
A buddy of mine who's kind of intermediate craft beer, I would call. Like he told me him and his wife came here, and he kind of complained about that. He's like, yeah, they only let me pick. They picked your flight for you, type of thing. He's like, but of course we had them all. So,
You have to have them all.
So maybe that's the strategy. You're like, oh, I want one from there. Just give me all of them.
And then we had a flask of gin, and then we poured gin and the rest of it.
It's a whole different ballgame right there.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of crazy. A lot of stuff out there. So, want to remind you guys again, if you're watching our podcast for the first time, it's been a while since we had a last one. So, but go back, watch all of our old ones. All those breweries still exist, with the exception of one.
Wait, who's that?
Missing Legends,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
who is now Whiskey Hill under new ownership. We haven't talked to them.
There's no whiskey.
Yeah, there's no whiskey in
no
Whiskey Hill.
hills.
So I don't understand the name. Maybe if we get a chance to sit down with those guys, we'll ask them why it's called Whiskey Hill. But that's the only one that doesn't exist. So go watch all of our other ones. All those breweries still exist. They're all really great. And subscribe and like to our podcast. Hopefully we'll have more coming in the near future rather than the distant gap that we've had between then and now. The
It's
last
only
one.
been 2 years, man.
Yeah, 2 years is small.
And then cheers to you, man, for like making sure we get out to these spaces that are just around the city,
Yeah.
right? Like we leave the city and then we go explore some of these cool spots outside it. This place, I didn't know that it existed so close to the airport.
Yeah.
Now I have like a.
I didn't know where it was. I knew it was in the rough area. I've never been here personally. And it is definitely a fancier spot than I thought. That's one thing. You go to some breweries and you're looking like most places now when they start up a brewery, they don't want to have food because they don't want to deal with that. You know, they'll have food trucks. There's small little spots just to get going. A lot of them. This is definitely a big spot from the start, and obviously they haven't expanded. You know, this is the way they were, and it looks like just from looking at the brew space back here, there's room for expansion in the beer side of things, for sure. So it'll be interesting to see where Shortfuse goes from here under you as the brewer, and kind of what you bring to it. I assume all the fan favorites that are still out there will be continued to be brewed,
Definitely.
but then adding in a more of a mix of new stuff that hopefully becomes fan favorites,
I hope so.
and keep brewing those. So thanks for having us out for sure.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, guys.
I don't know if you had any other questions, Nick, in general, but
No, man, I love the space. The beers that I had were really
Yeah.
cool. So thank you for opening your doors. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, you guys need to have like a craft beer event up in this
Yeah, I
joint.
did see,
Concerts,
we got-
some frisbee golf or something. It's
Yeah,
just
there
a
is.
very cool, versatile space.
April, we got an event. Hops in the Spring, April 4th. Saturday, April 4th.
April 4th, cool,
Hops in the
definitely.
Spring, we'll have
And
our
I saw-
beers, of course, and then we'll get a bunch of beers from area breweries in the area.
Okay, cool.
So I've been talking to some of the people that I know, and then
Very cool. Yeah,
It's a good event.
I know. I saw online in the flyers and stuff around here that like you could reserve space. So they have like space to reserve in the back. It looks like that space can be reserved. So if you want to have a party here, stuff like that, you can't go wrong with a party at a brewery. So I mean, it's just not something you can go wrong at too much.
not at all.
So definitely, thanks for having us out, and cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Nick is obviously done.
I'm out, but
I need
cheers, but
so
cheers nonetheless.
Apparently, we need more beer. So, see you guys next time.